Alright, YouTube, welcome back. What is up? So, today on the channel, let's talk about something a little different. I talk about guitars a lot. It's a guitar channel. But today we're going to talk about whatever this is. So here's the scenario. Right, you're in a band, and you're playing at a venue, and it's a small venue, maybe it's like a bar or a club or something, and you don't have a big stage. Your amps are in front of your drum set, and your drummer is complaining the whole time that he can't hear. Even if there's a like house PA system, it's probably not that great. Even if there is a sound guy at the club, he probably doesn't really care a whole lot about what you're doing. So, what's the solution, right? Your drummer can't hear that well. He's kind of just playing the songs off of whatever, he can hear ambiently happening around him, right? Not that great. Or maybe there is a monitor on the floor, but it's just blaring something he doesn't care about, like just vocals are just blaring him out, and the sound guy won't give him more bass or more guitar or whatever. There's all these variables, right? So, what if you could take matters in your own hands, and you could have your own monitor mix? So that's what this is. This is my drummer's drum monitor board. Now, there's much more expensive and complicated ways to do this than we've done it. This is sort of a budget way to do this. So I'm going to kind of break down for you how we've done it, and how it works and everything like that. So, I know, maybe not the most interesting video for some, but if you're in a band and this is an issue that you have a lot, then this is something that can really help you out. So, I'm going to change camera view. We're going to go get a top view of the board, and I'm going to show you all the components and stuff like that, and kind of explain how we set it up and what we do with it. Alright, so in our band, the monitor board serves a couple of different functions. Obviously, the one function is to monitor me and our bass player and our drummer himself. So we've got 4 channels here. So this board is a little Behringer Xenix board. It's got 4 XLR channels and then 4 more non-XLR channels. So what our drummer does is I have a Palmer cabinet simulated direct box that my amp runs into, and that direct box runs into the board, and then our bass player has a dark glass bass preamp pedal on his board, and it has a DI out on it, so that DI out runs here, and then our drummer runs his kick here, and he has a splitter adapter that goes into his kick mic, so front of house can come off of that and go to whatever they need, and the other side goes to his board here, and then he has a little pencil condenser mic that he sets up behind him on a stand, and that gets like an overview picture of his drum kit. So he has his drums, me, and the bass in here. So he doesn't really care about vocals. He doesn't need vocals, so vocals don't go to him at all. And then he can control all the EQ and volume and everything of those 4 things however he wants. So he has total control over it. And the way that it's all set up, it doesn't interfere with front of house in any way, form, or fashion. So front of house wants to mic my guitar amp. They want a DI out of our bass player's bass amp. This doesn't interfere with that at all. He has a splitter on his kick drum. They want to mic his drum kit. It doesn't interfere with them at all. So that was kind of one of the points of this. The system was to keep it from interfering with what the venue would do. Now, the other function that this board does, you can see here, we have this direct box with this thing going on, is we play with backing tracks. Controversial, I know. That's a whole nother video that I'm going to make eventually, talking about that. But I am the only guitar player in the band. And we have some other guitar parts that are backtracked. And so this plugs into an iPhone. And it goes into this splitter cable here. So this side right here just has the click. And so he can control the click however he wants, as loud as he wants it. And then this end splits off and goes to this direct box, and this goes to front of house. And that has the backing tracks in it. So he plays with a click, we follow him, the backing tracks happen when they're supposed to happen, everybody's happy, right? So what's going on here is this is a Behringer headphone preamp line booster kind of thing, right? So his in-ears, which he uses these Shure in-ears, and I really like these. They sound great. Our singer uses these as well. Plugs into this, and then this clips onto his belt. It's battery powered. Clips onto his belt, and then plugs into the board. And that is where all of his stuff happens right here. So he doesn't need front of house at all to handle his monitor mix. So we're going to come back up top, and I'm going to kind of break down why we went this route. Okay, so why did we go this route? Like I was saying before, there's much more expensive routes. Sorry, I'm messing with the board over here. Let's see. So, yeah. There's much more expensive routes that we could have went. But didn't want to do that. I didn't want to overcomplicate things either. Sometimes more expensive isn't always better. Sometimes it's just more complicated. We play a lot of shows with other bands, and we don't always have a lot of time to set up. It's not like we're the only band playing and we can just take an hour or whatever to set up beforehand, right? Like, if we're in the middle of a 3 or 4 band bill, it's like we might only have like 10 minutes to change over. So we don't have a ton of time to set up some big complicated like rack monitoring rig, right? Like, it'd be great. I'd love to do that, but just can't. Plus, I've played with in-ears before in the past, and I am not crazy about them. So I don't particularly like to have ears. Now, I usually don't have an issue on stage with hearing myself. I can hear my guitar fine. I can hear my vocals okay in like a wedge, So I don't have an issue with that. Our singer, he does use ears. And he gets whatever he needs in that, and he's good to go. Our bass player is not like me. He doesn't use ears, but he can hear himself fine and everything. In our drummer's case, imagine you're sitting behind a drums kit, and you have cymbals all around you, and the cymbals are just ringing and loud, and the drums are loud, and it's like, it's kind of hard for him to hear sometimes. Unless the amps are like right behind him, but then they're like blaring him away, right? And so he might not want that either. And this gives him a really good, quick, easy to set up, kind of self-contained way to monitor himself. All it took was this Behringer board, which is not very expensive at all. A good direct box. If you're not using backing tracks, you don't even need the cabling and the adapters or the direct box, right? Like, if you're not using backing tracks, you literally just need the Behringer board, the in-ears, and the headphone amp. So, the reason we have the headphone amp, we had originally not had the headphone amp he was just plugging his headphones straight into the board. The issue is that on a live stage with 100-watt Marshalls and big bass amps and all this kind of stuff, like the gain output on just the board was a little lacking. It needed some help. So that's why, if you're playing in like a not hardcore metal band like we are, if you're in just like a soft rock band or like an indie rock band or something, like you might not need this. I would recommend it anyway, just because you have it, and this thing wasn't very expensive at all. It was under $100. I think it was like $80 or something. So it wasn't a lot. Make sure that you use. So here's something you're gonna run into when you start building this. So I didn't really have a video guide like this to kind of help me put this together. I just kind of had to do it. Figure out what I needed, go buy it, order it, whatever. And originally, I ran into this issue where like the cabling situation was kind of weird, especially with the backing track stuff. I needed a lot of adapters, and the rig wound up having way too many adapters in it. We were having some issues with like the adapters being weird. Those little like headphone like 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch adapters aren't the most reliable things in the world. They go out all the time. So cables, right? I needed XLR to 1/4 inch TRS, and I had to have adapters to do all this. Just get a cable. There's no adapters. Just less connections, less things that move, less moving parts, less, variables going on, right? Like, it just makes things a lot more secure and stable. So, get the cables. Don't overdo it with the adapters. Not a great solution. And if you are running backing tracks like we do, say we got this TRS to 1/8 inch TRS, 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch. Again, I had adapters doing all this, and it was, again, just too many variables, too many things going on. Sometimes it'd cut out, all that kind of stuff, right? If you have an Android phone or like a tablet, you don't even need this adapter. You can just use this cable, which I think would be great, but thanks, Apple. But yeah, that's all the stuff. It's not super complicated to put together. Most bass amps have like a DI out on them. The guitar thing was a bit of a workaround. I don't have it with me. I wish I did so I could show you what it is. I might try to cut like a picture of it in here or something if I can. The Palmer direct box. It's a passive direct box. It doesn't take batteries or anything. It goes in between your speaker cabinet and your head, and it has a XLR out on it, but it's cab simulated. If you just try to use a regular DI box, when you run power through it, you'll blow it up because it's not designed for that. You have to have a special one that can handle having the power of the amp run through it. And even if it didn't blow up immediately, it's not cabinet simulated. It'll just sound like a hissy mess because it's way too, it's full range. And you don't want that. You want something that's cabinet simulated. So, the Palmer Direct Box works great. I DI out of that. And it's just super convenient and it's super fast. It doesn't really add anything to our setup time at shows. So, that's the drum monitor rig. If you have any suggestions or if you've built something similar to this, bring it up in the comments. Let's talk about it. I'm always looking for better solutions, better things, better equipment. So, yeah, if you're thinking about building something like this for your drummer, I definitely recommend it. They will love it, and it will make playing so much more enjoyable for them. And they'll be able to hear everything. And if you're using backing tracks, it's a must. You have to have something like this to run backing tracks and click tracks and all that kind of stuff. So, thanks for watching the video. Subscribe to the channel. That helps a ton. Hit the like button. That helps a ton. Leave me a comment. The algorithm loves comments. So let's get down there and talk about some stuff. Thanks, and I'll be back.